Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum. Today, I welcome you guys on my show, Women That Inspired Me. Specifically because March is an International Women's Day, so I have invited a very, very dear and close friend of mine. And she is an inspiration for me because she's very dear to my heart. And she's our First Lady of Paterson. So let me introduce you, Farhanna, our First Lady. Thank you, Farhanna, for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I am honored to join you and just have this great chat. And I love that we match, even though we did not coordinate that in advance. Um, but it's definitely great to connect, and especially given this month, Women's History Month, it's a great time to commemorate all the women that came before us and all the great work that they've done.
Yes, yes, very, very true. So it's a talk from heart to heart, and I know you're a very busy mom, had a very busy schedule, three kids, swimming, running around, and you still, managed to look so pretty and vibrant.
I'm exhausted. I'm sorry. It's like usually at this hour I finish putting the kids to sleep, but this is like my time to have a nice cup of tea and wind down. So no better time than, now to for us to actually have the chat while the children are sleeping.
Yes, awesome. So let me ask you, because when I came to this country, it's been, I don't even believe that it's been 22 years. And, our friendship goes way back. When you came to my house, your son was really little, and, you were breastfeeding him at that time. And, since then, there's so much connection between us. And I have to say this, and I'm going to say this publicly, for Hannah. I really thank you to be part of my life. Um,
Oh,
yeah, especially when times have been tough. This year has been very tough, and you have been there for me. So I really, really thank you for that.
well, I'm honored to be there. I see you as a friend and a workout buddy and someone to look up to, and that's what I love about you know getting women together. When we get to know each other some more, we find all the wonderful things that we can that we can bond over, and as we learn more about each other, I think we inspire each other. So I think it's wonderful that you go out of your way. You've invited me to your home. You've come over to my home. We have spent a good amount of time in local restaurants, so I'm glad to call you a friend.
So let's talk about the things which makes us unique. And there's a lot, and there's many things which are common. But today I want to talk to you about things as a mother, as a daughter, as a female. And you grew up in Paterson, and then you were married to the mayor of Paterson. There's so many ups and downs in life, and I know that you are the main drive behind your husband. How do you manage all this, everything, being a mom, and then doing everything in such a right way? There has to be time that you're down. What brings you up? Who's your source behind it?
Well, yeah, being a mom these days, especially during the pandemic, is extremely difficult. So, I salute all the moms that are out there that are trying to make things work. Many of us are working full time. We are finding different ways to make make things just work. And so I think that's one of the superpowers many women have, especially mothers, is just sort of juggling it. And I think the most important thing is learning how to delegate and learning who you can go to, whose shoulder you can lean on, and finding that network that can help you and guide you. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and sometimes it's just friends stepping in, family members stepping in and saying, "Hey," they realize we need something, or I need something. And I think keeping a social network is extremely difficult, right? But I think that's the most important thing to keep me going. is if I did not keep this social network, I would probably make it, it would probably be very difficult for me. But um, I think it's really extremely important that we keep ourselves in the loop. And that's what keeps me going. I think, um, knowing that there are those people who have my back, and vice versa, I think it's really, really important. Now is a really, really tough time to be a public servant, whether it be in Paterson or abroad or, in the state and other states. It's no one has a playbook per se on what to do during a pandemic. And yes, we've gone through viruses in the past, but not like none of us have lived through something like this ever before. And so to navigate through this and to get creative requires a lot of brainstorming. It's about the power of people. And so the way I see it is nobody can do anything alone. And it's really important that we recognize that. I know it's really hard right now because you can't, you try to limit physical proximity, but thankfully, in this day and age, we can all connect via Zoom, Microsoft Teams. I mean, you name it, we're all connecting somehow. FaceTime, phone, text, Facebook Messenger. There's just so many ways to connect, and so don't hesitate. I always encourage people, don't hesitate. I always love it when I hear from people I've like kind of known but not never gotten to know deep down, and to have them call me because they just feel like maybe I might be able to help them. Like that has been like the biggest honor, is that someone I haven't known has decided they wanted to put a little bit of trust in me to help them in any way, shape, or form. And like I got a call of that nature today, for instance, and I just thought, wow, like this is an honor. It's an honor to be someone that somebody can trust. And so we all have to think about that, and how do we put ourselves out there for other people, because then other people will do so for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Very
It's a
true.
long-winded answer to your question,
No,
but
no,
I think it's just the power of that connection. And that's why, I was going through, I always find it interesting when my iPhone or Facebook reminds me of a memory from last year. And around this time last year, just before everything started closing down, I had a group of women over at my house, and, you came. And I thought, wow, that was really, really powerful. And I miss that human connection. And what I liked about it is there was a lot of women that actually connected with each other for the first time at that event. And that made me really, really proud, right? To see like people are connecting from this, and that there's the power of that connection. We all need that human touch. And, while we've all said, the digital age has divided us in many ways, right? Because it's like the screen sort of gets in the way of that true human touch. I think we still find other ways to make sure we kind of circumvent that as well, and make sure that we're connecting as opposed to sort of just being maybe friends on social media and hitting like on pages. That's kind of more on the superficial side, but that connection is just so important. And we have to think about how we make those connections, leave ourselves out there, be somewhat vulnerable, and then others will come. And we need that human bond, and we need that so much more these days.
absolutely, absolutely right and true. Because within this pandemic, I myself has learned that life is short, and you really don't know what can happen. We have our audience joining. Amir Hamza saying welcome. Nancy, Greg saying great first lady.
Greetings.
Greetings. Um,
Okay.
so first question from Amir Hamza is, what does women and children living in Paterson City needs the most? What do you think will help this community most?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was talking about with regards to the human connection. My children have been, have a lot of friends here. And one of the things I have noticed is their friends, and my kids too, are reaching out to each other digitally, but they don't want to just play. They also want like a video screen so that they can see each other play. So let's say they're playing on Roblox. It's not enough that they're just playing on the game together. They want that human connection. So sometimes it's a second device that's next to them for those that, and believe it or not, a lot of these kids, between the Chromebook they got for the school, from the schools, and then maybe sometimes they grab my iPhone or my iPad, they find ways to kind of make that human connection. I think we all need that right now more than anything else. And yes, there are, about a third of our city is at or below the poverty level, and so therefore it's really, really important that we give them also the basic needs, medical. We want to make sure that they're getting the food that they need. The folks that are at that income level are the most vulnerable in our community, and so one of the things we have found is extremely difficult is that they're vulnerable, and something like this affects folks at or that are at or below the poverty level a whole lot more obviously than someone who's middle class. And so there are programs that are now rolling out in full steam, testing out the guaranteed income program, and a few other programs, financial empowerment. We realize how important economics is. We always have, right? But it's been amplified with the pandemic. And so women and children are the most vulnerable, just to answer your question, are the most vulnerable. So how can we empower them financially? I'm really excited about the guaranteed income program. Why? Because so many families can't get ahead. If they're making minimum wage, they're using most of their income to pay for housing and food, and they have no income left for anything that can kind of help them get ahead, whether it be saving for a rainy day. Like, let's say they have a flat tire and they have to fix it on their own. That throws a family way off financially, and catching up is just so difficult. How do they get ahead? How do they pay for courses to maybe advance themselves, and so that they can kind of get out of the current income situation that they're in? It's very difficult without that buffer. And so that's really the point of the guaranteed income, is that a lot of pilots have taken place to see that these families are using it to think about how they can better themselves. And, when you're stuck in a situation in which you're living paycheck to paycheck in a way in which there's really no leeway, it's a problem. And so a lot of our women and children have been in that situation. We know that women don't earn for the same work. Women do not earn as much as a man. And so that definitely affects us here in the city of Paterson. So I can go on and on about what we need. There's a lot that we need, but essentially the human touch, and I think the financials are very, very important.
I myself is very proud of that, pilot program coming up. We worked on it together, and we were able to, increase the number from 75 to 110. And, we're looking forward on 9th. Harsha is presenting it. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
very excited about it.
Yes. And it's a small number in the grand scheme of, roughly 150,000 people that live in the city of Paterson, but it's a start. And so if we can start to see progress, then it makes sense to see how you can further invest in it. And a lot of other cities are doing some serious investment in this program, and to be an example for the rest of the country.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your effort and services. Mr. Salahuddin saying, hi, Commissioner and Patterson First Lady. It is great to see you on International Women's Day. Thank you. The next person is Imran, and saying, human touch with love and respect that we need. And Amir Hamza is giving a lot of comments. Very true. Agreeing with your previous comment.
Yeah.
Yasmin Begum is saying, with the number of people selected for guaranteed income increase in the future. So Yasmin, this this program is not about the guaranteed income, and it's for 1 year. The previous show was about it. It was 110 people. So depending on this year, we will see how it goes for next year, because it's a pilot program. Usually pilot programs are like that. But I'll let you answer, Farhana.
Yeah, yeah. No, I am not as involved in it as in terms of what the future holds for it. I do know what the pilot is all about, and at this point, I think we take it one step at a time. I think we were very lucky that the founder of Twitter has put quite a bit of his own money into this program. This is not funded by our taxpayers, so it's really exciting to see that. Um,
It's
I
so
see another question. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so funny how all these questions are very political questions as you are running for office.
I know, but naturally, I mean, we have conversations in our home every day. My husband and I, when we get up, the first thing we do is read what's in the paper. We still get a physical newspaper come to the house, which he
Awesome.
really wants. I mean, I'm like, I can read everything digitally. I pay for subscriptions on NorthJersey.com, NewYorkTimes.com, and a few other publications just so that I can get all the information I need, like what's going on, not just in Paterson, but throughout the state of New Jersey, throughout the U.S. and throughout the world, right? Just so we can get a sense of what's happening and how it relates to who we are and what we're doing. But yeah, I am passionate about everything. I mean, I don't watch every single city council meeting, but I do watch quite a bit of it. So I know what's going on and I have an opinion. And I also always like to preface that just because I have an opinion does not mean I'm speaking on behalf of my husband. We are not, I mean, we are one in many ways, but we're not. I also have some very distinct opinions that are different from his, and that's okay.
And I
So just I want to preface that because there are some situations in which we debate and I'm like, I don't agree. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, and it is what it is.
yeah.
So um
So we'll
yeah,
take
so that's important to note. So when I'm saying something, it's not on behalf of the mayor. It is my own personal opinion that I am entitled to.
right.
Yeah.
So the next question is, what vision do you have for Paterson as the first lady? What do you want people to think about when they think about Paterson? It's a very important question.
Yeah, yeah. So, as a city, we have such an amazing history. We just, when I think of Paterson, I remember the first time I came to Paterson. You mentioned that I was raised in Paterson. Actually, believe it or not, I was not. I am a Brooklyn girl, born and raised. And I came, yeah, and I came to New Jersey. I know I love Paterson so much. Everybody thinks I was raised here, and I was like, nope. My husband was born and raised here. He was born at St. Joe's, raised in Paterson his entire life, and very rarely left Paterson. In fact, he didn't even have a passport until we got married. So, and then we just kept traveling extensively. And he was just like, I can't believe I missed out on all this. And, it was hard. He grew up with a single, his
Mhm.
raised by a single mother. It's, you don't have the luxury of being able to hop on a plane all the time. But I'm not from Paterson originally. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I actually visited Paterson for the first time when I was going to a Middle Eastern restaurant while I was a student at Drew University. One of my friends was like, "Oh, you have to check this out. There's just amazing Arab restaurants. They're just, it's like you're going into another country." And she was right. And I fell in love with Paterson. But in terms of a vision for the city, I think the city is so rich in history. And I remember coming to Paterson for the first time and thinking, oh, there's a lot of amazing ethnic enclaves. And it's so different. It's almost like you need a passport to come to Paterson. And you can have a taste of Peru. You can have a taste of Palestine, Lebanon, Syria. You can have a taste of the Dominican Republic. You can have a taste of Jamaica. Like there's just so much that the rich diversity is our competitive advantage. And I think we need to play on that a lot more and be a lot more welcoming to out of towners for that, because that's what's going to help drive our economic growth. And you know, there's a lot of focus on economic growth in this administration, mainly because it's really hard to do anything else without the finances, right? Anything from recreation to more public safety to, ramping up on cleaner streets, everything requires funding. And so I'm excited about all the economic development that's happening because I know what that translates to, right? It's going to translate to a more prosperous Paterson. It's going to translate to more opportunities for people. It's all about us making sure we get on the bandwagon for change and figure out how we can be a part of the amazing changes that are happening. And so that's sort of the way I see it. For me, what I also think is really important for Paterson is that we continue to educate our population in a number of different ways. I think the most important thing is we think about our future, and literacy is an area that I'm passionate about because only about a quarter of our students are reading at or above grade level. That means 3/4 have an opportunity to further improve their literacy skills. That is, to me, unacceptable, and we have to do whatever we can to get our students reading at grade level by grade 3. And I specifically say by grade 3 because once you hit grade 3 and you're not really reading at grade level, your confidence starts to wane, and there's just so much that needs, third grade is such a defining moment. And so literacy is just a really important cause for me. And anybody who wants to get on board, let's just make sure we get the word out there. Let's try to get every parent to read to their child at least 15 minutes a day. That's my message.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And on that, specifically because this year, due to COVID and pandemic, the literacy and educational level was not at the same as it could have been. It's been a hard year for parents as well. Not able teachers were not able to link as because of media and electronics. So and I know that Governor Murphy have said that announced that no child left behind, and there might be a possibility of not testing, which has its pros and cons. So which means in summer we really as parents has to push, more. We can't just always be pushing for teachers doing their job. We have learned this by staying home that how much our teachers has done, and they were way more appreciation for teachers as well. So you
Indeed.
absolutely
Indeed.
right on that. Many more appreciation. Another question is for, um, what is your motto for a better future? I know you already kind of answered with more educational. Happy International Women's Day. Another question is beautiful thought. It's good to know what Patterson First Lady is so much involved in community issues with tons of wisdom and plans. Okay, children development starts from 0 to 3 years, and by 5 years, their personality and mindset develops a lot. True.
Indeed, indeed. All very good points, and thank you for some of the great compliments. And happy International Women's Day to everybody out there. Yeah, children. We should be talking to our children immediately, and so I'm trying my best to sort of be I guess a role model in that way. I am constantly talking to my children from the start. So my 2-year-old son, I speak to him as if he were a 20-year-old college student. Like I have the dialogue with him. He can't fully respond, but I'm hoping that it's sinking in, right? That every time we're doing something, I'm talking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, do you like this watermelon? Wonderful. Or pointing out the colors, just nonstop dialogue. Just keep talking.
You're doing
And even if
amazing.
it's not in English,
No,
definitely keep talking because
you
being bilingual is amazing.
absolutely. You are doing a work of a speech pathologist because that's what they do. Constant talking. Even if the child is not responding, they're hearing it, and the brain is capturing it. So amazing job. More tips for parents who are at home. Beside that, I do want to ask, we did talk about all good stuff, fears as a mother, as a woman. What are the fears that you have in mind for future?
Yeah. So, as a mother, what are some of my fears? I just want my kids to be good people, right? That's the most important thing. And I, you know, I find that they're being influenced in so many ways, right? They're online. I'm trying my best to monitor everything they do online, but I can't always. Um, they're watching TV. They're getting, they're learning from so many different areas of like especially from the digital arena. And my biggest fear is how they're being influenced. And the most important thing is that I'm raising good people, right? Yes, I want smart children. Yes, I want them to be successful, all that other stuff. But the most important thing is that they're good people and that they're caring. And that is my biggest fear is, am I doing the right thing to make sure that our future, my kids, these are three human beings that will be leading the world. They'll be the ones when we're old and we're, you know, writing our biographies, you and I, we're just sitting there writing the last chapter of our novel. They're the ones that'll be leading the world. And are we creating, we're making sure that they care for our planet, care for their fellow neighbor, care for the world. Yeah, that's my biggest fear. I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing.
Well, you're doing a great job. And, they say that, we become pictures of our mothers. I know your mom. She is so proud of you.
Thanks.
And she's raised a very fine lady, a very fine woman. Any last messages that you want to give to our audience as we coming very close to our time? Any last messages you want to give?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, since we're talking about International Women's Day, one of the things I did with my daughter is we bought a few books that are like a little bit over her grade level. And we're reading about all these great women. And I think there's a lot that I just didn't know about some really great women in history. So I guess my what I want to leave us with is let's take the time to do our research and do it with someone young. Bring them in,
Mm,
and we're having a really good time learning more and more about women in history. Like we just finished reading a book about Malala Yousafzai, and I always knew about her. She was in the news, but we had a it's a third grade book. I forget. It was about 40, 50, like a good number of pages for her age.
mhm,
Um, chapter book. And I thought, wow, like I got to do this more often.
yeah.
I got to read with her and do just have our mini book club. She's got a few more books. So we bought a series of books about women. Um, so I'm just going to encourage folks to search for more knowledge. It can be inspiring, and that's what the topic of this was, right? Women who inspire us. And
Yeah.
I was reading about Malala, and I just thought, wow, how inspiring. I knew about what happened top line. It was back in 2012 though. And I was like, okay, it was like 9 years ago. And, um, you come to realize, you come to appreciate what you have too. So you'd be shocked at how you can find inspiration. And so I found inspiration because I just happened to get a bunch of books for my second grader and we're just enjoying each other's time. So so that's how I'm getting inspired, and hopefully that you find your own unique ways to get inspired.
Yeah, well, I really thank you from your very busy schedule, from the three beautiful kids, juggling, working, and, giving me time at such a late night on your weekend, taking it out. And I love you. And
Oh,
we're
I love you too.
loves and hugs and kisses going on
Sisterly
WhatsApp.
love. I'm loving this. The great energy.
Sending best wishes, Amir Hamza, Mr. Salahuddin, more power to women. And the person you have mentioned, Malala, she's one of our inspirational because she was from Pakistan. And
Pakistan.
yeah,
Mhm.
such a young age, she, got became a gold medalist. So, it's a pride for us. being a Muslim woman as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. As we, as I was reading with my daughter, we were then starting to talk about Islam and like, Ramadan's coming, and I
Mm.
put up decorations for Christmas, and now I'm getting ready for like all of the Ramadan decorations. I know some people are just like, no, don't commercialize it. And I'm all for I'm all for the commercialization, the decor and whatnot. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, and that's the positivity of media. And when pandemic was starting, parents and everybody was with the media. If a child is having a headache, oh, it's your phone, it's because you're in front of the screen. But at the same time, look at the positive thing that just like right now, we are connecting through media, and
Mhm.
families are connecting through media. So we have to look at the positive. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to take any more time. Thank you, Farhana, for joining. I'm going to let you go.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you for the audience for tuning in, and let's continue the dialogue.
Yes, so many more to come. And thank you very much. And good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Take care.